Am I the a-hole for completely canceling my stepdaughter's birthday bash and leaving her with nothing after I broke up with her dad? I, female 43, broke up with my ex Charlie, male 42, last spring after finding out that he cheated with his ex Sandy, female 34. We were together for 3 years, in which I was a very committed stepmother to his kid, Sarah, female 17. She and I never acted like mother-daughter, but I was the go-to adult when she had problems or needed anything because she and her mom don't get along, and my ex would try to help, but his solutions weren't very effective. 1.5 years ago, I completed a very ambitious project for a large company. I started getting paid, but bonuses and royalties only came in this year upon launching. I was so happy and so grateful that I opened accounts for my kids. I decided to gift Sarah the birthday party that she wanted. Her birthday falls in July, and she wanted a pajama party for 25 people, with a big bash, fancy cake, balloons, a DJ, and to go along with her friends to stay in a hotel out of town. This would be for her 18th birthday. So I set up a savings account under my main bank account. Charlie ended up asking me to help him fund a business idea, but I declined for a variety of reasons. We were not married, and I preferred to go solo. His business idea sucked because he was reinventing the wheel and I would be finding everything. We ended up having to close the conversation because he got angry and said he needed a helpful partner by his side, and I responded that I was taught not to give men my money. I know I was harsh and I apologized. I began to feel very insecure when Charlie started to criticize my makeup and personal style. He also praised other women to my face and I felt horrible. Early in the relationship, we had issues because of his communication with Sarah, his ex, which resulted in him promising to cut her off. Fast forward, and I began to notice that Sarah was very active in his family's social media. She gave likes and commented a lot, so I asked him if they were still in contact, because it just didn't make sense. He denied it. I went on a 10-day business trip, but our communication was very off. He would only take my calls until early in the night and became very vague about his daily activities. I couldn't reach him at all for 2 nights on several days apart. He sounded weird when we finally talked. So I lied about having to delay my return date for a few days and arrived 1 day earlier instead. I came home to find used condoms in the trash. My world was shattered and I threw up. His face changed when he saw me home. He also claimed to have been to his mother's house until late. I said I was sick when he asked what was going on and didn't mention anything. But he rushed to take out the trash and to do the laundry. I got into his phone, which I know is wrong, and found hundreds of messages from his ex. Pictures, voicemails, and conversations like they had never broken up. He consulted her about things, told her about his day, etc. Then I found a family chat that made me sick. He, Sarah, and Sandy spent a whole 2 days at a camping site last year when I went to visit family, and there were pictures from last Christmas with his ex at his mother's house. Obviously, he had a full-blown relationship behind my back, and his entire family was aware of it. I directly confronted him, and he tried to deny it until I played one of the voicemails. I couldn't take the humiliation, so I moved out weeks later. Closed the bank account for the birthday bash and kept the money for myself. I cut everything off, including his kid. He reached out in the last week of May. He pleaded with me not to take away Sarah's birthday celebration. I never replied. I know she's a teenager and that she has no control over her dad's actions, but she seems awfully comfortable in her pictures with his ex, and I feel extremely betrayed. Also, there's no way I'm funding a party that I'm not gonna attend for obvious reasons, and I don't want to contribute to a celebration so that his crappy family could eat and drink in my dime. Sarah's mom always had separate celebrations for her, and her gift was supposed to be a camping trip. My ex's family cannot afford a celebration unless they saved way in advance. My best friend says that maybe I can send Sarah a gift if I find it in myself to forgive her actions, but I don't feel like it. His sister sent me a voicemail the other day asking me to please don't turn my back on her niece. I feel awful because I know this was Sarah's dream, but I'm too disgusted to back out from my decision. Am I the a-hole? Edit. The ex he cheated with is not Sarah's mom. She's an ex-girlfriend and much younger. Her mom is also in her 40s. Now for the top comments. Don't send money. They didn't take into consideration your feelings when they were hooking up behind your back, lying to you, laughing, and what else? Why should you? They have to learn that crappy actions have consequences. C'est la vie. They are not your family anymore. You owe them nothing. Period. Best of luck. Especially when the ex is not Sarah's mom. There is no conflict of loyalty here. She doesn't care about your well-being, so why would you care about hers? Yeah, if the ex had been Sarah's mom, I could see where some lax could be given. Her grin would just be happy to be with her mom and dad. Not saying she deserved a party, but at least a gift. But a former girlfriend? Forget that. She made her choice. Not the a-hole. Sarah knew what her father was doing. His family knew and actively engaged in hiding this from you. Let them throw a Motel 6 pool party with dominoes and a boombox. You take care of yourself. It might be healthy for you to cut all ties with this group. She needs to stop talking to them and worry about herself. These people never cared about her. She was strictly an ATM who they thought they could manipulate. Screw all of them. Horrible people. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my 14-year-old son I was not his biological father after my wife had an affair on me? I, 37 male, have been married to my wife, 36 female, for 10 years. When I started dating her, she was a single mom, as her ex had fled the state after she got pregnant. My wife never wanted to tell our son that I was not his biological father. She wanted to wait till he was an adult in his 20s, and we decided on that when we married. I found out last week from one of my friends that my wife was having an affair. I confronted my wife about it. She initially denied it, but after I told her I had physical proof, I lied. She admitted to it. I asked her how long, and she said a few months. And then immediately went to my son and told him everything. I also told him I was not his biological father, that my wife has a tendency to go for these terrible men, and I made a mistake marrying her. My son was shocked and asked my wife if what I said was the truth. My wife said yes. My son then came over and hugged me and was crying, and I told him I will always consider him my son. I am now looking for a divorce lawyer, and my son has completely ignored his mom over the past week. She has tried to communicate with him many times, but he has ignored her every time. To be honest, I think it will really help me in the custody arrangements during the divorce, as my son's preference will be taken into account. My son just wants nothing to do with his mom right now. However, I do sometimes feel a bit guilty about it, but I then remember that I am the one who is the victim. Am I the a-hole? Please make sure to talk with your son to tell him none of this is his fault, and would be a good time to tell him how much you love him. Yes, for sure. I have been doing that a lot over the past week, and will continue to do that. To be honest, we were always close, but we have somehow gotten even closer over the past week. He is also self-assured. He knows it is not his fault and it is his mom's fault, and he has a steely determination and wanting nothing to do with her. If you did not legally adopt your son, then there is no custody. You didn't mention whether you adopted him or not. There could be. If OP is legally married to his mother and he's been supporting the child all these years, he could definitely fight for custody. This is a common problem, and in the US, he would most likely get joint custody. As long as he's fit as a parent, doesn't matter if the child isn't biologically his or if he hasn't adopted legally. Telling your son that you're not his biological father as an FU to your wife would make you an a-hole. But informing him of that fact, as the family dynamic is now changing for his own good, would not make you an a-hole. Like another commenter said, it would come out in the divorce anyway. I don't know what your intention was, so I'm not going to make a judgment here. It will come out in the divorce, but between now and then, the kid could be thinking it's something he did or his fault in some way. At least what OP did makes sure that the kid knows exactly what has happened and not to blame himself. If he had have said, "Hey kid, your mom cheated on me, so I'm out. Peace," then he would be an absolute a-hole. But the fact he is still there for the kid and looking into custody, that isn't the situation. Next story. Am I the a-hole for following through on my threat of divorcing my wife if she didn't start taking care of herself? I am 49 years old. My wife is 48. We have been married for 23 years. When I first met my wife in college, she was energetic, fun, and simply radiant. Her love of life was infectious. We would go hiking, eat at restaurants, go to theme parks, take walks on beaches, and everything else. We both loved the outdoors. About 3 years after we got married, my wife started changing. Instead of going out, she began to become something of a couch potato. She gained weight, started sleeping less, stopped cooking, and frankly became kind of a slob. I put up with this for years. I started cooking on most nights, and I had to hide vegetables in her food for her to eat them. I started doing the dishes every night because I knew she wouldn't. When I went grocery shopping, I abstained from buying my favorite unhealthy foods because I knew she would devour them within hours. I tried to encourage her to start taking care of her health. Nothing changed. 10 years ago, I finally reached my breaking point. I sat her down and gave her an ultimatum. Start taking care of your health, because if it falls apart, I'm not going to be here to take care of you. She was very upset with me, saying in sickness and in health might repeatedly. But I told her I didn't care. Again, nothing changed. I've stayed active. I go jogging every day and maintain a healthy weight. But over the past 5 years, she has reached a point where she frankly kind of disgusts me at times. It takes her 5 minutes or more to get up from her typical position of lying down on a sofa. She has started waddling hunched over. She's 48, but she honestly looks 10 years older and acts 25 years old. A month ago, I finally got her to go to the doctor. Another one of her reckless behaviors is never going in for checkups. They discovered that she's on the verge of type 2 diabetes, has a mild case of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and her blood pressure is concerningly high. Naturally, after receiving such news, on the way home from the hospital, she swung by a fast food restaurant to get some food and a shake. The other day, I sat her down and told her that I simply refuse to be a caretaker for someone who's not even 50 yet. I told her I would be filing for divorce, but left how we do it up to her, either through lawyers or through a cooperative splitting of assets. She's absolutely furious with me, and my parents seem to be on her side. Am I really the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. She is giving no effort, so why should you? Everyone deserves to be happy. Clearly she isn't, and making bad choices and taking away her happiness. Life is short, and it moves quicker as you get older. Get your happy back. I'm 55, Hub 63. His health was getting in a bad place. Lots of medications. 2 years ago, started getting up at 3:30 a.m. to hit the gym before work. Lost 40 pounds and damn buff. This with a titanium knee. We cook together again and outdoor active. She needs a counselor and buy-in. If not, she's doing what she wants to. You get to do the same. You have a wonderful relationship. It's clear that you love him a lot. Has your wife been treated for depression? She has to want to be treated. If she doesn't, OP shouldn't have to wait until she does. Info. While I am not qualified to diagnose, this sounds to me like it started with depression. Has she sought therapy or other help in that direction? I've suspected the same in the past, but she has never been diagnosed with depression. She has never made the slightest effort to address any of her health issues. Come to think of it, I don't even remember the last time she went to the dentist. Depression. Regardless of a diagnosis, that's what it sounds like. But as long as she refuses to go to the doctor and acknowledge there is a problem, there is not much she can do. Last story. Am I the a-hole for wanting a post-nup with my husband after finding out he has a child? Recently, my husband's ex from high school showed up, saying they had a child together 13 years ago and their daughter now wants to get to know him. They broke up right after high school and went to different unis. They were already broken up when she found out she was pregnant, and since she wanted to go to med school, her parents offered to take care of the baby, but apparently banned her from telling my husband. I'm 100% supportive of my husband getting to know his daughter, but at the same time, I have some financial concerns. I came into this marriage with more assets. I earn more than him, and financial stability is very important to me. The thought of something happening to him and losing part of my asset to this child terrifies me. Sharing everything with my husband never bothered me before because that's part of marriage, but him suddenly having a daughter is not what I signed up for. Therefore, I want a post-nuptial agreement that protects my assets. When I told this to my husband, he got very frustrated with me, saying that he just found out he has a daughter and he wasn't in her life for the first 13 years. He is still in shock, and one of the first things I do is come at him with a post-nup, making it seem like I'm preparing to divorce him. I think I'm justified in wanting a post-nup, and I've spent the last 2 months being extremely supportive of him and helping him manage the situation. I don't see why wanting a peace of mind for myself is that bad. But one of my friends also said that I'm kind of an a-hole for bringing up a post-nup, and it's not like my husband is likely to die anytime soon that makes me really need this. Am I the a-hole? Not a-hole. This mom could sue him for back child support and current child support. OP needs to ensure everything is based on her husband and not joint income or assets. I think she's smart for this. I think it's important to do it quickly. I would ask for the same. I'm sure he was shell-shocked, but so was she. We are talking paying for school, cars, college, insurance, etc. It's important to get ahead of it. People focus on the emotional aspects of this kind of thing, which isn't wrong, but it's equally important to nail down the legal part. They need to establish the kid's paternity medically and legally, establish child support, update wills, insurance, etc. And updating things legally for OP is a part of that, and no less important than any other part. So yes, it needs to be addressed, and this is no longer a brand new issue. 2 months have gone by. The comment that it's not like OP's husband is likely to die tomorrow is idiotic. The reason these kinds of things are important is that it's not just about the likelihood of something happening. And the fact of the matter is, he could die in a freak accident tomorrow, as could any of us. It's also about the likely consequences of dying without these issues taken care of, which are potentially severe. Small chance of event, but potentially severe consequences if you're not prepared. So you adult up and take care of it. It's why all this stuff exists. Wills, child support agreements, legal documents defining what happens to the kid if one or the other parent dies. It can seem alternately boring or scary, but this stuff exists for a reason. Yeah, this. He absolutely needs to get a paternity test done, reliably, before agreeing to anything. And again, yes, people do die accidentally or of brain aneurysms, etc. Unpredictable sudden stuff all the time. It's a possibility. Not a-hole. You gave him 2 months. The news is big, but he's an adult, and life isn't always gonna be smooth sailing. He had a shock and now he needs to prepare, and so do you. Protect yourself and your assets. Exactly. If she threw out the post-nup after week 1, this would be a different conversation. But after 2 months, it's time to think logistics and the reality of the situation. Different states and countries have different rules on what kids get both for child support and if the worst happens. OP is trying to protect herself from a situation no one would have prepared for. Maybe the state won't require back support because he didn't know. Maybe it'll just look at his income and assets, not what's considered marital assets. Maybe a million other things. OP has no way of knowing right now and needs to be logical instead of emotional about the situation.
First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my stepdaughter's wedding? I've been in my stepdaughter's life since she was 11. She was dealing with so much and was understandably mad at everyone, including me. She was dealing with chronic condition, her parents' separation, and leaving her family and friends after her mom moved to my hometown. My stepdaughter ended up with last-stage kidney failure. She was on dialysis for over 9 months. I stayed home with her, and I spent a lot of time with doctors trying to learn about different machines. She had many blood transfusions and was admitted to the hospital several times. Her mom wasn't there much because she had to work, so I was the one who stayed home and took care of her. It got too much for us. We decided that I'd be getting tests done to see if I could be a potential donor. And I was a match. I donated one of my kidneys in 2017, and thankfully, there were no problems after the surgery. Her recovery was complete a few months after because she had other issues. Her now fiancé proposed to her after she was discharged from the hospital, and they're getting married in February. She's 23 now, studies in an online college, and doing okay. Her mom and I don't share finances. My work nature is different, and I don't get money on a monthly salary. I own a truck that I used to make a living, but I'm capable of providing for the family. My stepdaughter stopped visiting. She used to call a lot, call me dad and check on me a lot, but I heard that she's spending time with her bio dad and visiting him and his new wife, which is not a bad thing. But one time when she visited, she and her mom asked if I could help pay for her wedding, and I agreed. But my stepdaughter seemed distanced and no longer had heart-to-heart conversations with me. She talked to her mom, and her mom would talk to me. Turned out, she accepted her bio dad back in her life and said that no matter what happened, he's her dad. I respected her decision. But last night, I argued with my wife after my stepdaughter told her to ask me not to come to her wedding because her bio dad will be there. I was confused. I asked why, and she said that her bio dad didn't want me there and she wanted him there. I felt awful. My wife told me to be more understanding, but I told her I won't be paying if I'm not allowed to come and should ask her real dad to pay. My wife acted shocked and said that this might ruin my relationship with her daughter, but her bio dad's opinion is more important clearly. I refused to pay and told her I won't discuss it. My wife said my stepdaughter will be disappointed and I shouldn't punish her because of her bio dad, but I'm not. I couldn't take this treatment and be put last. From what I understand, her bio dad is actually contributing money to the wedding. My wife says that no matter what decision my stepdaughter makes, I needed to respect it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not saying her bio dad shouldn't be there, but they need to understand that I won't be paying towards the wedding if I'm not welcome there. Her bio dad clearly doesn't want me there, and my stepdaughter is listening to him for some reason. He and I never been on good terms. He's always been neglectful, especially during his daughter's illness. But he claimed that I'm the neglectful one, and my stepdaughter shouldn't be living with me. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Wow, your stepdaughter is an ungrateful piece of work. You literally took the words out of my mouth. Not an a-hole. Your stepdaughter is destroying your relationship, not you. Point this out to your wife. Tell her she's free to make these decisions, but you've sacrificed enough to be in her life, and if she's this selfish, she's the one that will have to show she wants a relationship at this point. Opie has also sacrificed for her life. He has spent so much time caring and supporting her, even donating one of his kidneys. He had been there unconditionally. My wife said my stepdaughter will be disappointed and I shouldn't punish her because of her bio dad, but I'm not. Correct. Opie, you are not an a-hole. You should not give any money to the wedding when you are not being invited. Really sound like a good person. Sorry about all of this. Reddit here supports you. Not an a-hole at all. First off, I sympathize with you. You've given part of yourself both physically and mentally to her. You should absolutely be treated with more respect and human decency. Lastly, I agree with you completely. There's no way I'd pay or help pay for the wedding. I really don't see how your wife is in your corner on this. You're not good enough to attend, but your money's still fine? No way. You deserve better than that. I understand that part of her behavior is influenced by her bio dad. I'm not gonna lie, he is a bitter person and a grudge holder. He didn't want me there and is hiding behind her to get everyone to agree with her. I had a whole other answer until I reached the part about her asking you not to attend. Not an a-hole. I was a daddy's girl. My parents divorced when I was young and she remarried. I gave my poor stepfather hell for a few years because I was so close to my dad and felt like I was betraying him. As I grew up, my stepdad never gave up. He allowed me the time to grow and realize it was possible to love two father figures. When it came time for me to marry, I knew I wanted both my dads to escort me down the aisle. My dad was less than thrilled, but because he loved me more than he disliked my stepdad, he did it. Never did it cross my mind to exclude my stepfather. I'm so sorry your stepdaughter doesn't feel the same. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my stepdad to be father of the bride at my wedding? I'm 27 female. I'm getting married in May 2022. This has come up a few times and I'm starting to feel a little bad, so I wanted to see if others think I'm the a-hole or not. My dad died when I was 10. My mom met my stepdad when I was 12 and married him when I was 13. Full disclosure, I didn't exactly want her to get married, but I understood and respected and supported her right to be happy again. It was hard for me, and while I was always polite and civil to him, I never wanted to bond or develop a deeper relationship with him. For me, I felt that as long as I treat him with respect, that was all I needed to do. It upset them both a lot, but they accepted it because nobody could deny I was civil. It has only become a problem now that I'm getting married and didn't give him the father of the bride role at my wedding. They first asked about it when I mentioned needing them to pick a song to walk to their seats to at the ceremony. My stepdad asked, what about me? I told him I would be walking with my fiancé. He said he was expecting to do it, and I told him it was okay. Then they asked about the father/daughter dance, and I told them there was only going to be the first dance between me and my husband, but we could dance after. I then asked if they wanted to do a joint speech, separate speeches or something else. He said he wanted to be a more traditional father of the bride. I told him I understood he wanted that, but that wasn't going to be a role at my wedding. He asked why. I said my fiancé and I decided not to do it. Afterward, my mom told me that I might not love him or consider him a part of my family, but he is still a person with feelings and I should let him do this stuff for him. She told me it was never too late to embrace having another father in my life. I told her I did not want another father in my life, that I was happy with my life, but if it would make him happy, we could work out a dance at the wedding. She said it sounded like I didn't want it, and I said I was willing to do it to spare feelings, but I had already chosen not to do a specific spotlight dance with him. She told me they would be willing to pay for the wedding if that was the issue, and I said money wasn't the issue and we were fine paying for it. Apparently, my lack of enthusiasm means they rejected it, and yet they're still asking for him to have the role. I don't want him to have it. This isn't anything against him. It's a me thing. It was always a me thing, and I'm fine with that. I worked in therapy on this for several years to realize my boundaries and feelings are okay, and I have a healthy understanding of how I feel / where my mind is at. And now I'm wondering if I'm an a-hole or not. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You set your boundaries and they need to respect them. Stay firm. Indeed, and a fair reminder to them both that this is her day, not theirs. They need to remember that. Not the a-hole. It's your wedding, so you do as you please. It's nice that your stepdad would offer to do such things, but you set the limit and were even willing to compromise during the wedding reception. Your mother needs to remember and recognize that it's your day and should not press the issue any further. Exactly that. Unless, of course, her stepfather gave her a kidney, then she'd be an absolutely awful person. Not the a-hole except your mom. From your story, it seems like your stepdad asked fairly politely and did flip out at you when you said no and respected your wishes. You're allowed to say no, and your stepdad is allowed to be temporarily sad. Your mom became the a-hole when she tried to emotionally manipulate you into feeling guilty about not loving your stepdad, when it has nothing to do with it at all. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling off my friends for missing their engagement photo shoot over their roommate? So, I do photography as a side hobby for extra cash. Portrait shots, engagement sessions, weddings, etc. It's fun, and I like what I do. 2 of my good friends got engaged last year and were wanting to do an engagement session, and I suggested when it snows, we should take advantage of that. They loved the idea, and I even went shopping with the soon-to-be bride to pick out an outfit to go well with the snowy background. We finally find out it was going to snow last night and this morning several days ago. Bride is my neighbor. Groom is not. Groom lives 15 minutes on really bad back roads that eyes over and are definitely not safe to drive in after snow. So I suggested he spend the night before. I don't want anyone getting hurt over photos. Groom and bride have slept together plenty of times, in both meanings of the word sleeping, so this isn't a problem of morality. Groom's roommate, though, is obsessed with their sex lives and purity. One time, he tore their living room apart in anger, all because the groom spent the night at bride's apartment. Groom has to sneak bride in after his roommate goes to bed, and out at 5 a.m. before he wakes up to prevent angering him. His roommate has all kinds of issues concerning his faith, and he pushes his issues onto the groom and will make life hell if groom doesn't follow roommate's morality code. I'm a Christian myself, but this guy's a lunatic. Over the past 6 months, our other friends and my boyfriend have suggested moving out or even crashing with them because everyone thinks groom's roommate is crazy and creepily controlling. But groom feels obligated to stay since roommate has no other real friends. Anyway, so groom was going to spend the night with bride. That was already discussed so that we can walk to each other in the snow and no one has to drive. I had everything set up and ready to go. I get a text this morning saying groom did not spend the night because he feared angering his roommate, and so he can't do the engagement photos because, as I predicted, the roads are iced over. I'm mad and basically told them off that they need to stop letting roommate control their lives, and that it's unhealthy as hell, and it isn't fair to me to go through lengths to plan a photo shoot and prepare equipment all to cancel 2 hours before by saying groom didn't spend the night as planned. I told them they better suggest something else because there's no way we'll ever do a snow shoot for them if they keep living in fear of roommate. They're upset and think I'm harsh. I think they need to get out of this toxic roommate situation and should have told me in advance that groom was never planning to stay the night because I knew if he didn't, I'd have known not to prepare since I know how bad the roads get. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Prepare yourself for a blizzard of not the a-hole. The groom legitimately needs an intervention to get him out of that arrangement and away from that roommate. You are all being way too polite about this. It goes beyond controlling. It's frankly scary. There is no reason under the sun or storm clouds that you should not have received a text in the evening saying the groom will not be staying at your neighbor's and to prepare yourself for snow cancellation in the morning. Edit. I scratched out my first sentence because, to my great surprise, this is going to be more contentious than I imagined. To me, you are clearly not an a-hole. It would have been common courtesy for them to give you a heads up that plans had changed. If the boyfriend wasn't in touch with you, certainly the bride, your next-door neighbor, could have been. This whole thing is weird and gives credence to the often used cliché of no good deed. Yeah, if they even told me last night, I wouldn't be as upset. But like the morning off? They both knew he wouldn't be spending the night by last night, so they could have said something. My guess is maybe they thought he'd tried to drive. Not the a-hole, and I would not do the shoots for them anymore. Did you set a price or was it for free? Such a late cancellation means they still need to pay up a portion of the price because you have spent time preparing and could not get another booking. I was going to do it for free as a gift to them. No charge. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she was dating my bio father? So, my life turned into a bloody soap opera recently and I could use some outside opinions here. I, 24 female, am the product of my mom having an affair. Fortunately, my dad decided to forgive my mom and keep me, and I had a pretty good upbringing. But I don't really look a lot like the rest of my family. I'm the only redhead, among other things. And I did ask questions of a, why am I the only one with, insert trait here, nature growing up. When I was 17, my mom took me out for ice cream and introduced me to my bio father. She said that she felt I was old enough to know the truth and explained about her affair, while also, A, making me promise I wouldn't tell my older sister, 27 female in the present, and B, hammering home along with my bio father that he'd never be part of my life and didn't want me. It was a lot, I won't lie, but I learned to suck it up and move on with my life. Fast forward to the present. My big sister has always gravitated towards older men. We like to joke that it's the result of 2 men George Clooney movies growing up, and 2 months ago, shared a picture of herself and her new boyfriend, who, to my shock, turned out to be my bio father. I debated what to do for a couple of days, then ultimately decided she needed the truth and told her. My sister did not take it well and dumped him, but she wasn't angry with me. Honestly, by now, she's kinda amused. Says that since she banged my dad, she's my mom and has extra power to boss me around now. My mom, on the other hand, is furious. She says I divulged something that wasn't my secret to share, and that I had no business telling anyone. That since bio father isn't related to my sister, it didn't matter if he dated my sister, and it wasn't like they were talking marriage anyway. It's been 2 months and she's still angry, still snide, calls me traitor and finds excuses to make loud comments about how I can't be trusted with anything private or important, so beware. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing, but I've never seen my mom this angry before, and she sustained that anger for 2 solid months. So I'm starting to worry. Did I actually do something really horrible? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She needed to know that. That's weird and a little too close to home. Also, it's kind of messed up that your older sister was never told about this key part of her family history. Also, if your bio father knew who she was and her relationship to you, that's really weird and creepy. Thank you. I don't know if he knew. On the one hand, my sister doesn't exactly have a lot of family photos in her apartment. On the other hand, social media's a thing, and my sister's not trying to hide her family, so shrugs. Not the a-hole. Your mom is taking her feelings about herself out on you. Calls me traitor. She's the one who cheated on her family. I can't be trusted with anything private or important. Says the woman who couldn't be trusted to stay faithful to her marriage. It's weird and messed up that your mother wasn't the least bit icked out that her daughter's father was hooking up with her other daughter. Her feelings must be Category 4 hurricane right now. Not an a-hole. It's about your life. You can tell anyone you want. I don't know about that. That's a bit much. I wouldn't have told my sister if she wasn't dating him. Of course you can tell anyone that you want. You're an adult. Your mother is ashamed of having to bear any consequences, but that is part of life. Her anger is her problem. That just seems like stirring up things for the sake of stirring up things. I'm very lucky. My parents raised me the same as they did my sister. So for me, there's not much about my life different than if I wasn't an affair baby, outside of a different hair color and apparently needing to worry about my sister dating my father.
Am I the a-hole for reminding my ex-stepdaughter that I wasn't her father and not committing to an earlier promise? When my ex-stepdaughter was 14, she said she wanted to study abroad in the UK, but it would be too expensive, so I told her that I'd start saving for that then so that we could actually send her there. I opened a savings account the next day for that, and it was supposed to cover tuition, housing, and some allowance. The next year, her mother and I divorced. I still tried to maintain a relationship with her, but that ended quite sour when she said I wasn't her father, and I should stop being involved as if I was. I said alright, and that the ball would be in her court then and we never saw each other again. That was until 2 days ago. She, 19, came knocking on my door. I invited her in. We sat down and she asked me if I remembered that promise I'd made her when she was younger. I asked which one, and she said the college fund one. I said I did remember, and she said she wanted some of that money right now to cover expenses and that she'd use the rest to actually study abroad next year. In case you forgot, this was the first time we'd spoken for 4 years. So I told her that since we lost contact, I repurposed that money a long time ago, so there was unfortunately nothing there to give her. She was rather unhappy about that, and said something around the lines of, "Figured, you were always full of it. So much for I'll always be there, Dad." A call back to when we told her about the divorce and I said I would still be in her life and she could still call me Dad. This obviously upset me, so I responded with the fact that she stonewalled me after the divorce and reminded her that I wasn't her father like she'd said, so she had no right to complain. She left afterwards and I got a call yesterday from her mother cussing out for ain't being it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments.
Not the a-hole.
It's pretty ridiculous of her to expect that the money would still be waiting for her after pretending you didn't exist for 4 years. She made it very clear that she didn't want a relationship after the divorce, and yet she still expects to reap the benefits you promised when you were close. And she isn't even going abroad. She just wants his money and will maybe go next year. Not even then if the grapevine says she's pregnant. Money is going to raise the baby. I would put money on her mother sending her.
Not the a-hole.
The divorce closed the bank of Dad, especially after she pushed you out of her life. You, as your stepfather, I'll save for your tuition. Divorce happens. She, you're not my father. Be gone. Adios. You, okay, call if you change your mind. Hint, she did not. 4 years later, she, where is my money? The entitlement is really, really strong with her. Not the a-hole. She's just being opportunistic. She knew how to find you, right? She could have sent a message to you anytime in the past 4 years but waited until she wanted some cash. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling off my wife because she promised my time for this coming weekend? My wife, 35 female, and I, 36 male, have a 5-year-old son. We both work full-time, but my wife sometimes needs to work on weekends, maybe 2 to 3 weekends a month. I enjoy the time alone with my son when she is at work on weekends, as I think it really gives us time to bond, just the two of us. But my wife has a habit of arranging playdates and other activities for the days that she works on weekends. I find it incredibly disrespectful to me, and I have told her many times that I don't like her doing it. This coming weekend, she has to work on Saturday. Last night, she told me that our son asked if he could have some friends from his kindergarten class over this weekend. She agreed and they invited a few friends over to play on Saturday. When she told me, I got mad at her. I told her it was BS that she promised my time like that, when she isn't going to be here. I told her it's not right that she offered me to supervise multiple kids like that without talking to me first. She asked if I had anything planned, and I told her that no, I did not have anything planned, but that's not the point. She said that we shouldn't be discouraging our son from wanting to be social and we should be happy as making friends. When she realized how upset I was, she offered to cancel with the other parents or try to reschedule. But she said that our son was really looking forward to having friends over and she didn't want to disappoint him. I felt like that was a low blow because then it makes me the bad guy if I tell her to cancel. So I told her that we can go ahead with the play dates but that I am taking all day Sunday for myself. I told her that I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but that she's going to be fully responsible for our son that day. I told her that I don't care if all I'm going to do is sit and watch football all day, but that she gets to be the one to watch our son. She got mad at me because that's her only day off all week and she just wants to relax too. I told her that's not my fault, and that if she wants to promise my time on weekends, that I should at least get to decide when I want time for myself. She told me I'm being petty and that my son and his friends will be fine playing by themselves for the most part. She said it will only be for a few hours and she already told the other parents that we aren't going to be feeding them dinner or anything like that. So all I have to do is make sure no one gets hurt. I told her that next time she wants to arrange a playdate, that she can schedule it for when she's able to at least help or talk to me first. I reminded her that this isn't the first time she's done something like this, and that I'm tired of her scheduling my time for me like I'm her employee. She thinks I'm blowing this out of proportion, and since I don't have anything planned, it's not that hard to just sit around the house and watch kids play for a few hours. Not day whole. How would she feel if you volunteered her time before even asking her about it? I think the best way to handle this, if she's unwilling to budge on at least talking to you first, is to give her a taste of her own medicine. You're equal partners, and while care for your child is implied and joint, that doesn't extend to dropping other kids on one another. It's rude as heck, and not respectful of each other's time. You're justified in your irritation. At least get her to a point where she discusses it with you first. He did. He volunteered her to watch her own son that Sunday so he can get some rest too. And she got angry. He's not the a-hole. She can dish out his time, but he can't do it to her. They don't seem to be communicating well, but she needs to respect his time as well. That was a more petty and reactive way to manage it. It doesn't really establish the point for her. These situations tend to work out better if you can recreate the full conditions almost entirely. Let her get mad about it, and then draw her attention to the immediate parallel. Doing this while she's already feeling defensive over the situation will just make her more defensive and doesn't really establish the point in a constructive manner. Psychology is our friend. Not day whole. My husband and I did not volunteer each other for things. I don't even make myself an appointment that will leave him on the spot on an evening or weekend without consulting him first, and he does the same for me. Yes, I'd like to set up a playdate for X time. Let me check with my husband first to make sure we have a clear schedule, and then doing that is not that hard. Right. Who volunteers someone for something, not knowing if they even have plans, or don't have plans? It's not your life, it's theirs. My wife did this to me exactly once in our relationship where she didn't consult me beforehand. What she didn't know was that I had a roof install scheduled for work. I had to delay and ended up losing the contract just asking for it. Lost about $3,000 because of the situation. Not day whole. I actually think you should have let her cancel the playdate. She's doing this because she gets all the credit and none of the work. All the parents are thanking her and telling her how thoughtful she is. She gets to feel like a good mom while you do the work. Not cool. This will only stop when you actually start making her cancel these plans. Until she has to feel the embarrassment of going back on her promise, she's never going to stop. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend she should work less if she wants more time with her husband? About 7 months ago, my friend Tori, 34 female, began to vent to us about some of her marital problems. Namely that her husband, Jack, 35 male, doesn't have time for her. At first, we let her vent and just listened to her and gave her support. I know that Jack is a stay-at-home dad that works part-time from home, and Tori's pretty big into her career. At the time, I didn't question how things were when she got home because I just wanted to listen to her. Since then, she's had the same complaints every time we see her, and some of our friends started to offer her advice. Like tell Jack how he was hurting her feelings, and tell him what she needed from him. It sounded like good advice. This year, our kids are in the same kindergarten class, so Jack, myself, and another friend have been taking turns carpooling the kids. Whenever I drop their kid off and take them inside, I would always see Jack finishing up cleaning, laundry, cooking, and other household chores. Tori also now has 2 nights a week where she either comes to one of our houses after work, or she goes out with her coworkers after work. Yet when we see her, she still has the same complaint about Jack not having time for her. This last time I saw Tori, some of our friends had started to talk down about him to her about the whole situation. I asked Tori if Jack is still doing most of the childcare and housework while working from home, and she said yes. I asked her if she gets paid overtime for working so many hours that they need the money, and she said no. She's on salary, but she wants to get to the next level.
I told her it sounds like she had been misrepresenting the situation. And it doesn't sound like Jack doesn't have time for her, but she may not be making time for him. And if she wants time with him, she should cut back on her hours so she's home at a reasonable time. And maybe not go socialize 2 nights a week while he's at home. Tori started to cry and tell me I was shaming her for having her career, and our friend agreed. I said it wasn't like that at all and that there was nothing wrong with her having a career. But if all the other advice hadn't been working after so many months, maybe she needed to look at how she was also contributing to the problem. Now they're both upset and barely talking to me. Was I so wrong to tell her that? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She's doing the same thing to her husband what men used to do to their wives. It wasn't okay when they did it to us, and it's not okay to do it to them. You can't prioritize your work and social life, then complain that your spouse who is filling in all of the blanks doesn't have time to prioritize you. Running a household is a lot of work. And if a working woman has a stay-at-home husband who is doing that work, he deserves the same respect that we all would expect a working husband to give to a stay-at-home wife. This right here. My husband and I are working parents with a new baby, and I'm back from maternity leave and attempting to recoup my lost progress and try to make a play to manage a new restructured department. It means lots of tired days at work, so he has been pitching in more at home and with baby. But we have our 2 nights a week of movie date nights after the baby is asleep to prioritize our marriage, and we schedule having our respective me and social time so we don't burn out. It doesn't sound Eopie's Fred is prioritizing anything but herself. You aren't shaming her for having a career. That's a straw man. The situation seems to be exactly how you're seeing it. Not the a-hole. It doesn't sound like Tori's even trying to make time for her husband. Her husband sounds like he's got a full plate and is supporting her advancing her career. I feel like she's falling into this trap of having it all. The kids, the career, the relationship. Having it all is a myth. There are only so many hours of the day, so many days in a year. If she wants to advance her career, that's fine, but it will come at the cost of time with her family. She has to accept that. Not the a-hole. Your question was completely legitimate, and frankly, overdue considering that she complains about the same issue over and over again without trying to do anything to change the situation. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out of my house for being crazy? I'm 22 female. I'm a stay-at-home mom/student to a 3-month-old boy. My husband is a line cook, so he's not earning the world of money right now. I don't work because childcare in my area would cost more than what I would earn in a lot of jobs available to me. My sister Jane works part-time, but she only pays the internet bill. She's been living with us for 6-ish months now since my parents are at their wits' end with her mental illness. Jane has orthorexia, OCD, bipolar, and severe anxiety. She's got this idea in her head recently that the brand of formula I feed my son is going to harm him. She keeps trying to get me to change the brand he's on. I can't, because the brand I use is the cheapest, which is all we can currently afford, and the baby tolerates this brand amazingly well. My sister thinks I should be breastfeeding the baby, but agrees that the ship has sailed. She still loses her mind every time I go to make a bottle. She's in a mild manic episode right now, which are usually manageable and tolerable, but this one takes the cake. In the 15 freaking minutes it took me to shower while baby was napping, she managed to get rid of most food she thinks is harmful. As in open the containers and dump them on the floor. A lot of that was baby formula. She said if I continued to feed it to my son, he would die. And if he died, she'd be responsible since she did nothing. I lost it and ripped her a new one. I told her she's absolutely insane and that she belongs in a secure home or something where she can't harm other people, etc, etc, etc. I told her she's super crazy and to get the heck out of my house before I destroy everything she owns to see how she likes it. My parents dropped over the half-used spare formula from their house, but they think I'm being harsh on my sister and that even I've gone a bit too far here. My husband agrees, but also agrees with me that our son needs to eat and my sister needs help. He thinks I went too far insulting her mental health. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your sister is your parents' responsibility. Your son is yours. You do not owe anything to your sister, and she can move back to your parents and she can pay rent or something with that money she is making at her part-time job. A young baby is hard to take care of, and you don't have to give your sister the care your parents should be doing. Your parents are the a-hole and should never comment on you having to deal with your sister. What the heck is wrong with them? If I were you, I would not kick your sister out before having a plan where she could stay due to her mental health. But your parents should take their responsibility as her parents and find her help. Your focus should be on the baby, your husband, and yourself. Parents kicked her out first, then get mad when someone else can't tolerate her behavior? And in the US, there is a formula shortage. And doing this would literally cause severe harm. What if you can't replace their formula? That is severely mentally ill territory to risk a baby's food source. It's not dramatic to lose your patience/leniency when she does something so deplorable due to her own issues. Ask your husband when and how you're supposed to get new formula. Then ask him if you overreacted. OP, don't let her back into your home. This is too much for your own family unit. Your parents only think you're being too harsh with your sister because they don't want her moving in with them. Especially with the formula shortage over the last 2 years, I would go into a rampage if anyone destroyed my baby's source of food that was scarce and expensive. I truly hope your sister can get the help she needs, but you're not the one who should be obligated to help considering you gave birth a few months ago. Your parents are a-holes for insisting you care for her while you are juggling an infant, school, and home.
Not a-hole.
This isn't just a manic episode. That's psychosis. That's a full-blown delusion. Not a-hole, your infant isn't safe around her. What happens when sister decides that OP is killing the baby and that she needs to take him somewhere safe away from OP?
Not a-hole. Am I the a-hole for not acknowledging my step-grandchildren when their mothers, my stepdaughters, made it clear I was no family of theirs? I need to know if I'm being heartless or if I'm justified. I, 52 female, am married to my husband. Let's call him Mark, 57 male. I have 3 children with my husband and 3 stepchildren from his previous marriage. My husband's previous wife died in childbirth, leaving him with 2 daughters, Eva, now 38, and Lisa, 36, as well as my stepson, Michael, 27. Michael is my son through and through, but my stepdaughters never acknowledged me in any capacity. On a good day, I was simply the woman married to their dad. On a normal day, I didn't exist, and on bad days, I was the pick-me girl who tried but failed to replace their mom. They went low contact with my husband when they left for their respective colleges, and no contact with me, a behavior that was encouraged, and I'd say heavily influenced by their maternal grandparents. They came back into my husband's life when Lisa was getting married, with demands that he pay for her wedding and house, something he agreed to and later did for Eva as well. I felt like they were just using my husband, but I didn't say anything about it, as I saw how happy he was to have them back, especially after being devastated when they ignored him for so long. They didn't invite me to their weddings, and made it clear when they had kids that I was not their family. My husband and son tried to push back against this, but I discouraged it, as I didn't have much of an emotional connection with them. I chose to let it go and not make a big deal about it. They rejected me enough as teens, and I said nothing, because I didn't want it to come across as if I were forcing myself on them, but I definitely don't need to stomach that behavior from them as adults. We continued on like this for a couple of years, but things changed when Michael and my other son Tyler got married and had their respective kids. My daughters-in-law involved me with everything in their lives, including their children's births. As a result, I'm very close to them and their kids. I only see Lisa and Eva's children at family gatherings and have no relationship or emotional connection to them whatsoever. Lisa and Eva have recently started a campaign against me to extended family members about my extreme favoritism toward my grandkids and lack of effort toward their kids. Honestly, I'm not bothered, and they aren't lying. My grandkids from my 2 sons are highly favored by me. They can never confront me, as we almost never talk beyond hellos, how are yous, and goodbyes. But they've also tried to involve my sons and their wives in this mess. Michael and his wife were there when the wedding fiasco went down, so they're not buying into this nonsense. Tyler is unbothered, as their treatment of me also extended to him and my other 2 children. His wife is loyal to me, but feels very sorry for the children involved. My husband has made it clear that he will not force me to do anything I don't want to do, the same way he didn't force them to involve or include me in their lives or that of their kids. Extended family members are very vocal about their disapproval of my behavior.
but I don't treat those kids badly. I'm hardly ever around them. When I am, I'm very polite toward them. I don't initiate hugs, as I don't want to overstep, but I return them when they're given. I buy gifts for them at Christmas, just like I do with every other child. When together, I include them in any activities I do with my other grandkids, as I don't want them to feel left out. I treat them all equally during those moments. I just don't go out of my way to involve myself in their day-to-day lives, like I do with my other grandkids. And honestly, I'm totally unbothered by Lisa and Eva's campaign against me. I feel like they made it a point to reject me, and also rejected me on behalf of their kids, and that's why I'm not close to them. I honestly don't feel like putting in the effort at this point. I'm human, and I've been rejected enough. I don't want to let them or their kids in, and I feel like they only want in because they see the benefits my other grandkids get to enjoy. I think they want to manipulate the situation and use me for their benefit, just like they used their father. I think their children are also just tools in this situation. And unfortunately, I'm not in a position to do anything for them, as that would mean allowing their mothers to have access to me, and I'm not comfortable with that. Am I wrong for keeping the distance and not really wanting to acknowledge them as my grandkids? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your stepdaughters are just mad that they're not getting the reaction they wanted from you. Literally gave them nothing. Now they're using their kids as last straw for emotional guilt. Again, too bad you have none for them. Seriously, they've been cold for years, and now want to use their kids to force a connection? Nah. You don't get to treat someone like they're nothing and then expect them to suddenly pour love and energy into your life. That's not how any of this works. It doesn't sound like they want a connection with OP though. It's just extended family that are getting involved and coming after OP. It sounds like someone asked the daughters about OP's relationship with their kids, and they blamed her for why the kids rarely see their step-grandmother, and eventually it got around and caused the extended family to come after her. Well, honestly, it sounds exhausting. I'm just wondering though, do you think that extended family's disapproval stems more from genuine concern for the grandkids, or simply a desire to get to you? It's a tricky situation. Trust me, it is as exhausting as it sounds. Apart from feeling like they are using the children, I haven't seen anything to suggest that they treat their kids badly or that there's anything to worry about. I can't figure out my extended family as well. They were against what happened with the wedding thing. And this is what's making me a bit unsure. Some are aggressive and unreasonable in their approach, which makes me think they just want drama. Those that have taken calmer approach are just so repetitive with it that it makes me feel like they trying to call me into submission. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to stop talking about her divorce around me? My sister and her husband are getting a divorce. He moved out of the family home and filed. My sister didn't see it coming despite warnings that it could happen because she went behind his back. The story basically goes, she married him, knowing he had absolutely no interest in having his mom, stepdad, or half-siblings in his life. He didn't like his stepdad. He didn't want half-siblings. That was something everyone in our family knew. He was open about having no desire for contact. My sister married him, had kids with him, and then decided he was wrong to deny his family for being steps and halves. So, she was making contact and introducing the kids behind his back. She argued with him when he found out and said if nobody else, his half-siblings deserve to be included because they're the most innocent in his family. They didn't ask to be born and weren't a part of any of the wrongs his mom and stepdad did. He told her he wanted nothing to do with them and they weren't his real siblings anyway. He also told her she had gone behind his back and betrayed his trust, and he was not going to stand for it or allow their kids to see that man as grandpa or those kids as aunts and uncles. My sister doesn't want her marriage to end, but has also been angry at her husband because he's correcting stuff she told their kids about the stepdad and half-siblings, and has told their kids they, stepdad and half-siblings, are not family and stuff. She's mad at him for that, because the kids are more resistant now to contact with their paternal side. And don't call them grandparents, aunts, or uncles anymore, but she also doesn't want to divorce her husband. It's a mess. It's crazy. My parents are encouraging her to open up and stuff, to talk about it. I'm less sympathetic and patient. It's 6 months on from him filing, and I can't be around my extended family without hearing about this. My sister goes from bad-mouthing her husband to saying she hopes he calls off the divorce and they can work out and be a family again. My sister also tries to talk to me just one-on-one about it. I think my reason for being so indifferent to this, annoyed about hearing it, is because she knew how he felt. She knew what his boundaries were with his family. She had a choice not to marry him. She had a choice not to go behind his back, to expect he'd be fine with it when she knew. Regardless of what anyone thinks of his actions, hers were not that smart and should not come as a surprise, and I don't feel bad for her. I do, however, feel bad for the kids caught in the middle. When my sister tried to talk about the divorce again 2 or 3 days ago, I asked her to stop talking about it with and around me. She asked how I could be so cold, and I told her it wasn't like people didn't warn her. My parents did before they got married, because they didn't like how her husband felt about the half-siblings. And hearing about this over and over is getting so old. Am I the a-hole? As far as I'm concerned, you taking his side says that you condone his actions. She also condoned his actions by marrying and having kids with him then. No, she didn't. And she has shown that by not going along with his behavior. She did. She married him knowing he was not talking to his step family, married him knowing he wanted them to have nothing to do with future children, and she had children with him knowing that too. She went along with his behavior for years. For extra context, he didn't invite them to their wedding. She never even met them before she made contact with them herself. She had kids with someone she knew had no intention of introducing them to his family. These are things she knew and condoned for a long time before she decided she didn't agree. Not the a-hole. Putting aside her actions, which are deplorable, you don't get to decide who will be your emotional support human, especially when they are conflicted. She has a wide range of people who can console her and let her rant. You don't need to be one. You can't change the situation. If she doesn't understand why it is happening, she never will. Getting old is maybe a bit harsh, but refocusing from, I can't help you with that, but what else do you need help with? Some people are better at offering practical support than emotional. I agree with you, the poor kids. It's going to be so confusing for them. Mom says one thing, Dad says another. Mom says these are Dad's family. Dad denies them and refuses to be around them. Not to mention going from seemingly happy family to divorced family fast, for them. Ugh, I hope they feel loved and supported through all this regardless. And what I still come back to is she knew. My sister's husband was clear, so this was no great shock to her. She just felt she knew better than him and she could get away with it, with nothing else changing. I'm entirely confused as to why it's so important for your sister that she and her kids have a relationship with his step family. They mean nothing to her. They mean nothing to him. As far as the kids know, they're just distant cousins. So why is she so adamant? She knew it was going to cause issues. She did it anyway, and then doubled down afterwards. I'm calling her lies. She sabotaged the marriage because she didn't want to be the one calling for the divorce, and now she needs to play the victim to everyone and anyone she can possibly do so, in order to provide her a cover story. She wanted to be the hero who brought the family together. Last story. Am I the a-hole for expecting my husband to be home every night that we have his kids, my step-kids, at home? My husband has 2 kids from his previous marriage. Both boys, 12 and 14. They are sweet kids, but they're teenage boys. They're wild. They tend to get into fights. They're messy, and listening is not their best life skill at this stage of brain development. I do not have biological kids of my own. I met these kids when we started dating about 4 years ago, and we've all lived together for about 2.5 years. Long story, but we moved last summer about 60 miles from our old home. The move was because the boy's bio mom got remarried to a guy who lived in a different part of the state. To avoid the kids bearing the brunt of the commute, we agreed to move. My husband still commutes to work, and I work from home full-time now. We have 50-50 custody of his kids. During the school year, we never have the kids on Monday or Tuesday nights.
My husband enjoys playing in low-stakes bar poker games, so he generally does that on Mondays and Tuesdays. It's a very long drive to the venue where he plays, so he stays with friends near our old house on those nights and doesn't come home. Not my favorite arrangement, but I go out of my way to ensure he feels like he has autonomy to enjoy his hobbies, something he definitely didn't have in marriage number 1. The issue has come up with regard to our summer custody schedule, which switches to 1 week on, 1 week off from the normal school year schedule. It recently came out in conversation that he expected to still play in his poker game on Tuesday nights during the summer, and that he was fully planning on staying with friends and not coming home those nights. It has always been our understanding and agreement that he would be home any night we have the boys here. When I brought this up, he told me he didn't think it was a big deal to not be home 1 night a week, and to expect me to handle everything on those nights. I am super uncomfortable being here with them alone. They make me anxious. I hate when they fight, and I don't think it's my place as a step-parent to discipline them. If they were kids who just read books and sat in silence all night, I might feel differently. But there's always a greater than 0% chance that someone is literally throwing punches, and I have no interest in being solely in charge of that situation. I already am the default parent for laundry, school pickup, scheduling, meals, and the primary caretaker anytime during school breaks, since I work from home. I have clearly communicated to my husband how I feel about being here alone with them, so he is aware. Beyond how it impacts me, I don't think it's a great example for the kids either. It's not like my husband is on work trips. It's like, hey, Dad would rather play poker than be here with you. I just feel like part of being a parent is you have to plan your life around kid stuff. My husband already has it easier than most because of the joint custody and the fact that I am happy to sacrifice some of the few days we would have alone for the two of us so that he can pursue this hobby. So serve it to me straight. Am I the a-hole here? My husband is making me feel like I am, but I just feel like this is me making a reasonable ask and trying to set a very legitimate boundary. Now for the comments. Wow, you moved 60 miles to accommodate his custody schedule. He doesn't come home from Monday a.m. to Wednesday evening so that he can play poker with the guys, and I hope that's all that's going on. And then you two have his boys Wednesday, Thursday, and I presume every other weekend. So you guys get time alone together every other weekend, Friday night through Monday morning? Not good. Now he wants you to be the overnight sitter for his boys so that he can play poker and sleep over there. You are right to tell him that you are unhappy with this arrangement. You're right to tell him that you're unhappy with the arrangement altogether. You get 3 nights home alone with him every 2 weeks, while he spends 4 nights playing poker and sleeping there every 2 weeks. I don't know what to tell you about this. I would say that you are absolutely right to tell him that he needs to be there when his children are there, but I also think that you would be right to point out to him that he spends 4 nights every 2 weeks on poker and only 3 nights every 2 weeks home alone with you. You nailed it. That's exactly our situation. It's not working out, to be honest. I have far more self-esteem than when I first started dating this man. I have done a ton of personal development, therapy, and trauma healing over the past several years. I dearly love this man and have fought like heck to make it work, but it's becoming more and more apparent to me that he does not want to truly be a partner in a relationship. Back when this was happening to my brother and I, there was no 50-50 custody, so maybe people just view it different now. But for us, if we would go to my dad's house for a weekend and he wasn't available, we'd be wondering why the heck we were there. To hang out with our stepmom who we didn't really get along with anyway, when we could have been home instead with our stuff and our friends. Thank you. This is exactly my point to him. The kids never outright say it, but they're always kind of like, oh, so why are we here if our dad isn't? We have a fine relationship, but they don't want to hang out with me. They want to spend time with him. I bet it was one of the reasons of his divorce.